Hello and welcome to 52 Weeks. This is week number 4. So this week I want to focus on tying together the integration chapter, chapter 9, and think about some of the bigger things that are happening around the city, kind of expanding on what we talked about last week. So I want to start with a quote. One of my favorite quotes is ELIEL Saarinen. He's a Finnish architect and the father of Eero Saarinen. And Eero designed a TWA terminal, the Gateway Arch in St. Louis, and also the MIT Chapel. His quote is, "Always design a thing by considering its next larger context. A chair in a room in a house in an environment in a city plan." I always enjoyed this quote because it helps one understand the contextual issues in design, particularly when you've got things are not designed in a vacuum. So when we look at designing a house, we're thinking about what's it look like on the block, how's it interconnect. So it's all about relationships. So when I come to this, I think about the same thing in understanding relationships in the comprehensive plan. I think there's an issue where we need to understand the difference between comprehensive plan and master planning. So comprehensive planning, looking at Wikipedia, is a process that determines community goals and aspirations in terms of community development. This process looks at the expression and understands the public policies on transportation, utilities, land use, recreation, and housing. And this is usually a large geographic area. It's usually broad as well, covering a long-term time horizon. That means it's long-term thinking, and it's helping to kind of look at milestones that we want to try to achieve. So why is that comprehensive planning important? Well, we're going to go through understanding the land use, economic development, neighborhoods and housing, the parks and open space, the community facilities, transportation and traffic. It's all how they're interrelated. All these things are interrelated in a system. This is why systems thinking is very important in this process in planning and helping residents understand that it doesn't operate in a vacuum. This is vastly different than master planning. Master planning kind of looks at a focused area that is a couple blocks, and sometimes it can be private. A developer's looking at master planning. It could be a college that's looking at master planning. It could be a city that's looking at master planning, and these are district focused. When we talk about master planning, for example, it could be the watershed at Paxton Creek is like looking at master plan, or the 83 corridor is master planning, and that's at the larger level of these things. So it's critical to understand this difference, because it seems like, as a comprehensive plan idea, the last one we went through, which is listed in the comprehensive plan document, was done in 1974 after the flooding due to Agnes. And it's important because we've substituted long-term visions for short-term ones. So in the past 40-some years, we've been looking at smaller visions of master planning to compensate for a comprehensive plan. We don't really know how, or fully understand how these things are all interrelated. We try to, but it's done as, hey, look, it's busy work. We're doing good things for the city, but they're not integrated together well. It's not good because if you don't have a framework, anything is possible and anything looks good. So it's critical for two reasons. First, because if there is no plan, no one's been considering or guiding these things, and the quality of our land use, our economic development, and neighborhoods and housing, parks and open space, community facilities, transportation, and traffic. So that's all out there kind of floating around and disconnected. Right? We've talked about that a little bit, of how we need to have interconnectedness and interrelationships in systems, and also seeing them as a triple bottom line. That's why that triple bottom line is important. Second, why this is critical is that because this is a void now, there's tremendous opportunity for outside development to come in and determine the quality of our city based on what it would desire and what economically makes sense. This is harmful to the actual place of residence, particularly if we want to find the development to be happening in triple bottom line and focusing on people and place, rather than just a single dollar sign that's generating the end profit. So when we look at the land use, economic development, neighborhoods, housing, parks, open space, community facilities, and transportation and traffic, we're letting that up to someone else who thinks they might know what's there, but there's no process to really criticize and be critical to push on that. If there's no entity that's overseeing this thing, these plans come to fruition and things happen. And it's in the guise of, hey, this is great for city growth, right? This is the single bottom line mindset. Hey, we'll put it in, people will come. This really doesn't have to be. What's amazing, again, this is why I think the Harrisburg Comprehensive Plan is very important for every citizen of Harrisburg, is that in 2013, the city at least embarked on that process. It officially then started in 2015 when, in May 7th, 2015, with a 10-month process. OPA was selected from a 23-member steering committee with nationally known subcontractors. So the idea was to be an unbiased thing that looks at what do we have with these projects and what are tying together. But even more importantly is the 100+ meetings that were in the community to understand the main things that surfaced what the community wanted. And we're looking at better quality of life and housing, affordable housing. We want our neighborhoods to be growing and thriving. We also need to have educational facilities that are helping our residents to thrive, and looking at also workforce development and understanding how do we develop jobs. We need an economic engine that looks for helping people incubate well and rebuild from within. So those are the things we're kind of summary in this week's 52 weeks. So I'm just going to give this, that was the overview. And then second part is looking at 14 some projects that have come up and surfaced through the past, it's going back to the 2000s. So we're looking at what's really important in all these projects that are out there. And if we see these as just single projects, we don't have an understanding of how they all relate together. We're really locking ourselves in later in life and later down the road in Harrisburg's growth.